and repeat after me. I say your name.
I said
say your name. I don't know what name you have pronounced. Say your name. I say your name. Commit and promise and dedicate myself wholly, wholesomely, truthfully, and in any other way humanly possible to just be better about time. Can we do that? You know, we are sitting here looking at the program and all the wonderful things we want you guys to participate in. So that last part was not a laugh, I mean it. So, to do better about time. Okay. So if the cake was really good, come with it into the hall. We'll clean up after you, but come back. All right? Please take your seats, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome back, welcome back. How's everybody feeling right now? So we're about to get to the most exciting part. Now there's a workshop happening outside. There are workshops happening outside. Now one of them happens to be very interesting in the Sardani Hall that is happening in the Hall Hay. Turku University has a workshop going on. 3 beautiful themes that they're talking about today: entrepreneurship, innovation, and higher education. So if there's anybody interested to listen to Turku and the beautiful workshops that are happening outside, you can go there for a while and see what's going on. Then later on, you can come back and join us with more conversation here in the main hall. Don't forget the other workshops outside. So, we also have sponsors today, and I told you that before. We have World Food Program, WFP, and we have IBM as well. We have Facebook. Is anybody using Facebook right now? You can go Facebook Live, you can take pictures and do things and tag them as well. At the same time, we also have Foundation Botna and Liquid Telecom and the Swiss Embassy as well. Now let me tell you something. There's an African saying, things come in 3. Sometimes it could be bad, sometimes it could be good. Now let me tell you why good things are happening in 3 today. AfriLabs annual gathering, 3rd time. Big round of applause to that. AfriLabs for the 3rd time, they're doing an event. Sahara Sparks for the 3rd time. The host, they're doing their event. And you know what? This event is going on for 3 days. So good things come in 3, right? I think so. I think so. I'm not even superstitious, but I think so.
So we're going to start our first panel discussion. As we mentioned earlier, I'm going to give us a few seconds just so that we can all be paying attention. Thank you. I mentioned earlier that we're going to have panel discussions as well as workshops throughout the 2 days that we will be here. And our first panel discussion will be on innovation in the data age. And we will be having conversations around this topic and asking ourselves some very serious questions. Are we doing enough? What are the challenges and how do we overcome them? And to participate in this panel, we have a wonderful lineup of women and gentlemen who will be sharing their expertise and experience with us. And we start with
Jean Lea Njoroge. Now, she's one of the speakers that's going to be gracing us with her presence today. So, if somebody asks me what's my hobby, what's your hobby, Ju?
Well, I don't know if it's a hobby because I make money from it.
What's your hobby?
Music.
Music.
Yeah.
So while I was reading and Googling this wonderful lady, Jean Lea Njoroge, her hobby is, I quote, analyzing and interpreting complex data sets. If you ask me, my hobby is singing, dancing, doing things, but her, analyzing complex data sets. We're going to be having her on stage today. I like her already.
And Jean Lea Njoroge also holds a PhD in computational material science and engineering, and she's with us today as a data scientist at Dell EMC. Would you please put your hands together for Jean Lea Njoroge.
Karibu.
Next up, an equally beautiful and talented woman. Her name is Selina Lee. Selina Lee is the CEO of Zindi Africa, my bad. And some fun facts about Ms. Selina Lee. She's passionate about unleashing the power of data for social good. Somebody say unleashing. Tell your neighbor unleashing. Zindi Africa, thank you, is a data science competition platform for Africa. And Selena has lived and worked in 3 continents. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Selena Lee.
Karibu. And we were supposed to have Dr. Reginald Mengi today, but unfortunately, due to factors that we couldn't handle, he's not going to be with us today. But hopefully, something will give. But we also have somebody else, Bengi Isa. Now, she happens to be the executive director of NEEC, NEC. Karibu sana. Big round of applause to her. And unfortunately, we are also... Why do I keep on saying unfortunately?
It's not unfortunate.
Clearly, I'm
there
the
are 3
bearer of bad
wonderful
news.
girls on this panel.
That's what I like.
International Day of the Girl Child.
Hey!
Hello. Okay, 4. I'm also here. 4.
Now, you know what? I'm also going to be here because inclusion, men and women for others. So I'm going to be taking part in this, not in the panel, but celebrating ladies today. We're supposed to have Clifford O'Derrick from SBSA Liquid Telecom, but unfortunately, me being the bearer of bad news, he's not here with us right now. But we do have other people as well.
Actually, our moderator for this panel will be none other than Jumanne Mtambalike. You already know him as the founder and CEO of Sahara Ventures, a social entrepreneur who actually studied computer science. And the thing I found out about him today is he's a lover of music and particularly hip hop. So in my other life, I would ask you to come up here and spit rhymes, because that is the terminology that is used. You spit rhymes as a rapper. Are you a rapper?
I'm afraid that the data might turn into bars. 16 bars and above.
Put your hands together for Jumanne Mtambalike as our moderator for this particular session. Karibu sana.
But we do have a video. We'd like to see that video that entails so much about this panel discussion before we start this wonderful conversation today.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Why so serious? It doesn't have to be this serious. Yeah, so once again, thank you so much. I'm the CEO and founder of Sahara Ventures. And Sahara Sparks is one of our entities. And we're very happy to host you here today. And I will be moderating this session with my lovely ladies here. We are going to have very interesting input from them. And without wasting time, I would like to give them at least a chance to introduce themselves formally. So please, you can start from here. Madam Bengi Isa.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Bengi Isa. I'm the Executive Secretary of National Economic Empowerment Council. The National Economic Empowerment Council is a public institution under the Prime Minister's office. it's our responsibility to oversee implementation of the National Economic Empowerment Policy in Tanzania. So in doing so, we work in collaboration with public institutions and also private institutions. And we have a specific focus on issues related to youth, women, and people with disabilities. Sorry?
It's not coming out of microphone. Maybe you should go.
Okay. Yeah, so we do so many things, but we do empowerment. And the innovation is part of the empowerment. We also do entrepreneurship. We also do local content and so on and so forth. Thank you.
Selena?
Hi. Hi, my name is Selena Lee, and I'm the CEO of Zindi. Zindi's a data, I don't know if you can hear me well. It's okay. Zindi's a data science competition platform for Africa. I personally have worked in development for many years and looked at the role of data to really accelerate the impact of development topics such as financial inclusion, public health, gender equality, and I think that data is a very powerful tool, and we're in a really special time at this moment where data is everywhere. Every single day of our lives we generate data, and it's suddenly become an opportunity to actually bolster implementation and bolster the interventions that we can make to improve people's lives. So I'm hoping that Zindi will help create a platform where we can really accelerate this agenda.
Jean-Lee?
Hi, so my name is Jean, and first I straddle between two continents, one that has defined who I am and one that has shaped my ideologies. And that is why I'm here, because this continent defined me, but half of my life I spent in the US. So I'm a data scientist and working in the cusp of technology. I've been in technology for a long period of time, but most importantly, I am here because I am ready to start championing that knowledge from Africa. And starting next year, I'm developing an impact investing fund to be able to extract those ideas from everybody here and be able to accelerate that innovation to be able to help and shape the future of Africa, because this is the future and we need to participate in it. Thank you.
Great. So I would like to start with Selena. When they are saying about things you love to do is data for social impact. So we hear all these terms, data for social impact, data for development, data for good, data for this, data for that. How do we really make data matter to a very normal person in a very meaningful way? How do we do that from your experience working with Zindi?
Yeah, I think that's a good question because that is one of the challenges. At the end of last year, GSMA said that the number of unique mobile subscribers in Africa had reached over 400 million unique mobile subscribers, which is tremendous, but it also means that it only represents 44% of the population. So whereas in other countries where a lot of the innovations around artificial intelligence, machine learning is being developed in the US and Europe, those are very different contexts. Those are very different environments. The challenges are different, and so I think that this is one of the major things that within the African context, we're going to have to think about how you can create homegrown solutions that really apply to the problems and the challenges that Africa is facing. Mm-hmm. So some of the ways that data science or machine learning can impact normal and everyday people. Zindi is hosting a few competitions right now. One of them is to optimize public transportation into Nairobi. That's something that almost everybody in Nairobi is going to be able to benefit from. Another one is on the Sustainable Development Goals. We're looking at ways to automate the classification of different documents around the Sustainable Development Goals so that governments and agencies that are working in these areas will be able to immediately access and almost real time the different information that's out there on the Sustainable Development Goals. So there's a lot of use cases that are worth exploring.
Okay. Yes, you can add on.
So I just want to add to the idea of impact. So when I look at the number right there, there are 442 tech hubs in Africa. That's data. That's data that's showing a trend. And what's that trend? It's showing that the future, you're shaping the future of education. So to me as a data scientist, I look at that number and I say, there's something happening in here. And whether we like it or not, you are shaping the future of education in the African continent because there's something missing in that education system. In such a way, there are like 442 tech hubs in Africa today. So you're shaping. So to me, I look at that data from a just very basic perspective, right? And then you can start adding the different demographics to start understanding the different trends and how to shape that education system.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Bengis, I'm coming back to you. So being a government rep in this panel, so we've been talking about the importance of data, the importance of innovation, the importance of technology as a cross-cutting issue. How do you see African government adopting policies and regulations that can enhance usage of innovation and data to foster socioeconomic development?
Thank you. What I will say is that, first of all, I would like to acknowledge the fact that data is very important. The challenge that I see in Tanzania, currently we have our own strategy, like industrialization, which need data a lot in terms of what the requirements by the industries, like requirements of raw materials and where the raw materials can come from. Currently, we see this challenge that most of the industries in Tanzania are actually importing raw materials. However, we also have farmers in Tanzania who are producing, and we thought we could link the two together for industries that can acquire raw materials here in the country. What is lacking here is data. The information is not flowing from the demand to the supply side. So I still see this as a challenge, and I would like to say that innovation and data issues that we are discussing today are the key to solve the social problems. And we should take this as a challenge because the government also needs to work with the private sector in order to challenge ourselves and also to solve our problems. We have so many challenges whereby if we use the technology properly and if we use our innovations properly, I'm sure we can get ahead very well under the current circumstances.
Okay, thank you. Jean, being a data scientist and a technical person, so one of the issues I said in my speech area today was technology is good, but it's just a tool. And sometimes if you don't use it carefully, it has a tendency of creating inequality, leaving some of the people outside. Maybe it can be gender-wise, it can be in terms of their community level and social status. So how do we ensure inclusivity when it comes to use data for social good, as Selena says?
Wow, so that's an interesting question. So how do we ensure that everybody is not left behind? I personally don't think that's a data problem. I think it's a culture problem, right? So we have to make sure that we are taking enough information, recording that information, because that information becomes data. If you're not making records, we don't have data, right? So right now here we are exchanging information, but we are not recording it. So we are not taking data, right? So if we are not taking data, we cannot understand how to be inclusive with everybody, you know, who's being left, who's being taken ahead. So it's a matter of us learning from the African continent. We need to learn how to record the data, and know that this data is going to empower us. Empower us in a more, in a different way, that we have to be able to be sustainable, such that as a continent, we are able to use that data to start innovating, to start making sure that everybody has a seat on the table. You know, but it's that record. That record, we need to extract that record from whatever it is.
Yes, you can add on.
A question about inclusivity. I actually think that this is a very important point about data being recorded. There's actually two dimensions, I think, in terms of using big data, in terms of using big data to create machine learning and artificial intelligence. One is the data sources. You need representation in the data that you're actually analyzing, but you also need representation in the people and the minds that are being applied to that data. A solution that an American data scientist would develop will be very different from a solution that a Kenyan data scientist would develop. The perspective is different. The fundamental understanding of the context, the needs, the challenges, I think just, the thing is, people think about data science as kind of this very objective thing, but it's actually an art form. Okay, you agree? Yes, it's actually an art form. There's a lot of human element actually in all of the models that are built. So we need to ensure inclusivity on both of the sides.
Okay. Yeah, back again to Ms. Bengisa. So we have seen the charts and the numbers, and it seems with data we can be very well informed in terms of making key strategic decisions. So one of the challenges that we've been facing is that a lot of data is being collected, and the government is spending a lot of money to collect data from the local government level. And these data are being processed to be used. But most of the time, they're not being used to make key strategic decisions. Now, what is the course of action we should take to make sure we innovate at the grassroots level and use data to make key informed decisions in the agriculture sector, in the health sector, and other sectors?
Thank you very much. I think one way of doing it is to make sure that, first of all, after data collection, we have to share the information to understand the real situation in the country, but to put up a strategy or to give ourselves, you know, objectives or targets on whereby our decisions can be implemented based on those data. In Tanzania currently, we have, in financial inclusion, for example, we are estimating to have only 14% of Tanzanians who can access formal financial services. And through the mobile phones, about 65% of the population actually access financial services, which we call it informal way of accessing financial services. So what I would like to say is that we can be innovating around this issue to make sure that we include more Tanzanians in financial services by using, because we now know that most of the Tanzanians, even when in gender perspective, even women who sometimes they not own anything, at least they own a phone. And therefore, they can use their phone to access financial services. So we can be more innovative around that area to make sure that we include more people to get financial services. Because as we know, to empower people, financial services is one of the things. But not only that one sector. Other sectors such as transportation, agriculture, tourism, etc., they need to be informed by data, and so that they can make proper decisions for their well-being. We understand that in empowerment, there are so many factors that people should access in order to be empowered. They should get good transportation. They should be able to move from one place to another easily. They should have communication easily. They should be access to finance is one of them, but markets is another thing that I've talked about initially, and so many other things. So in order for all this to work properly and to get to make sure that we are empowered, we have to use the data, the researches that we have or we do, so that we can make proper decisions and put up strategies to overcome areas where we think we can improve.
Thank you so much. So Jean, I'm back to you again. So I was going through this article on World Economic Forum about the future of jobs and skills, and your job was well rated. So why do you think, and do you think currently Africa needs data scientists? And if we don't need data scientists currently, do you think we'll need more data scientists in the future? Why does Africa need data scientists now?
So not only does Africa need data scientists, the world needs data scientists because we have so much data. So the key to extracting insights out of this data is analysis, right? So that analysis that helps you derive decisions so that you can understand about the traffic in Nairobi, or you can understand about what you're going to do next year about this conference, right? So that's data. So you need that skill set to be able to get that data, analyze it, and extract insights that will help you make decisions. So that's number one. So does Africa need data scientists? Yes. Like yesterday. So we need to figure out how to develop that skill set that's embedded in data science is very interdisciplinary. So you have to merge the art and the sciences, the social versus the engineering, the programming versus the business acumen. So you have to merge all those elements in a data science person, or not even in a person, a team, right? So create a team that has those kind of elements so that you're able to extract information in the most efficient and reliable and scalable way, because with data, you create data products, right? So that skill set is going to be in demand, and it's not only can we not, if we train data scientists in Africa, they're in demand everywhere in the world, right? So you could be sitting in Dar es Salaam and doing a data science project in New York City, you know? So that skill set, we need to start figuring out how to train, how to extract that kind of knowledge from
the skill set.
Yes.
So Selena, how do we bridge the skill set?
Yeah, I completely agree that we really need to focus on capacity building in data science. I think the other element that we have to think about is giving data scientists in Africa that platform, that space to not only hone their skills, but also build up their experience, build up their portfolio, I guess, of successes. That's something that Zindi's trying to do, I think, as well, the innovation hubs, like giving them a platform where they can show off the skills that they have, because you would be surprised how many data scientists there actually are in Africa. They may not have had the opportunities to connect with all of the opportunities and the needs that exist in Africa. So we need to also raise awareness among those organizations that hold data, for them to appreciate the power that data can bring to them. And we also have to create the spaces for the data scientists in Africa to show off their skills and make those connections with those opportunities.
Okay.
I'm actually very excited about Zindi. I just discovered it the other day. And to me, I'm going to talk about in the US, you won't get hired as a data scientist if you don't have a portfolio of projects under your belt. You know, so I just discovered Zindi like 2 weeks ago, and I was so excited to be here with Selena. I was like, oh my goodness, you know. So I'm sure we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, so Ms. Bengisa again. So how do you see the private sector working with the government sector to build a stable data innovation ecosystem? How should the private sector work with you guys?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to acknowledge the fact that even now, as a government, we work very closely with the private sector on all issues related to data and technology. For everything that is public-owned or it's being operated by the private sector. I would like to see more involvement of private sector and to invest on innovations that can solve our social problems. Because we know that in entrepreneurship, we can use our social challenges to get the opportunity to go around the innovation and come up with opportunity to solve our problems and also to raise employment of our youth in the country. So what I would like to see also is that the data scientists themselves should lower themselves, should go down to earth so that they can translate and analyze the data that we have so that everybody can understand them. And if not only understanding the data, but what kind of interventions we can put to, so that for people like decision makers who doesn't know about the data, they can understand what does this mean and how can we put an intervention to solve this kind of a challenge. So I'm very happy for this forum because I see this is just a starting point whereby we can solve our own problems and we can give challenge to different companies, especially companies from Africa. And that's why we have also companies from outside the country so that we can learn from each other and see how we can solve our problems. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So this will be a question for wrapping up. So we hear every day, data is a new oil, data is a new oil, data can be used for this, data can be used for that. But to some extent, to most of us, 2.5 quintillion million bytes of data doesn't mean a lot if it doesn't change my life or if it doesn't bring ugali or fufu on the table. It's just a bunch of numbers, if you know what I'm trying to say. So how do we transform data from being crude oil to oil that can actually empower people, create opportunities, and stuff like that? So, Jean.
So, very interesting question. So, how do we get, and you're right, data, there's an adage we have in my job is garbage in, garbage out, right? If data is as good as you look at it, if it's not analyzed properly, if it's not looked at it in a way that it's extracting value, it's garbage in, garbage out. So how do we extract value from an African perspective? We need to invest in infrastructure. To understand and analyze data, you need a robust infrastructure that is able to handle the millions of data, whether it's in the cloud, whether it's in the data centers. And then we need to also invest in capacity building, right? Because when you train people to help you understand the data, number one, you're making good decisions, right? And number two, you're creating employment. And number three, you're creating data products, right, that can go into the commercial market and helps you put like the fufu, the ugali on the table, right? So it's that understanding how to commercialize the data involves a lot of foundational work in infrastructure, what they call data infrastructures. Data infrastructure and the skill set.
Data infrastructure and skills. Selena?
So I also think that this is a case for the role of government and the international donors that are out there, because artificial intelligence and machine learning was developed in a for-profit space, and there's a reason to invest in artificial intelligence in a for-profit space because it can make you a lot of money, and that's completely legitimate and completely fine. But where there's less profit to be made, who's going to make an investment in the other applications of artificial intelligence and machine learning? We have to create an environment where those types of initiatives and that type of research, that type of effort is placed in a place where we can help all people, whether or not a profit is to be derived. I mean, what's interesting is that some of the same principles apply. I mean, customer service driven by artificial intelligence means that what you're trying to do is anticipate a demand for certain things, anticipate what people will want next. You can also apply that to medicine. Where are people going to need malaria medicine? Where are people going to need more clinics? Those types of things. That's the same principle, but we need to find a space and the support for those types of applications.
Okay.
Yeah. In Tanzania, for example, we are estimating to have about 3 million entrepreneurs at any time. Some of the businesses come up, some of the businesses, they die, but most of the time we have about 3 million entrepreneurs. But what we have seen for those entrepreneurs, it's only 11% of them, they use ICT. So we all know that if you use ICT in our businesses, we are going to prosper, because that's how you can network, you can connect with other people, you can also learn, and you can get clients, you can get suppliers, and so on and so forth. So there is a need, there is a gap between what we do in entrepreneurship and the use of ICT in our businesses. We need to, and I know this is your job, we need to do more to make sure that we do that, so that our entrepreneurs, they are exposed, they know the ICT and can use ICT to make their businesses expand more and to network. Because most of the challenges we have for entrepreneurs, they don't network. And if you don't network, you will never know about other opportunities, you will never know about the challenges and how those challenges are being tackled by others. So I would like to give the challenge to this group of people today that please work around that area to make sure that entrepreneurship in general also includes ICT or information technology, so that to do business in a more, advanced way and in a better fashion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, my panelists. It has been exciting having this short conversation with you. Thank you so much. Thank you, Selena. Thank you, Jean. Thank you, Ms. Bengisa. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Another round of applause as these speakers and panelists come down. Thank you so much. I'm so excited that they are honoring our earlier pledge. They spoke so well and sweetly and succinctly. How are we all doing? If you can still hear me, wave. If your partner next to you is asleep, tap them. Say the cute one is on stage. Pay attention.
The what?
The cute one.
Okay.
I've decided to name myself that because it makes people sit up and pay attention.
You know, a couple of things that I got right now is the fact that, a couple of millions are into entrepreneurship. But only how many % are in ICT? Did anybody hear that part? How many %? 11%. It's sad, man. So when are we ready to say, business is booming, baby, with ICT? When are we going to say that? I want to hear that language soon, by the way. In cooperation with ICT and everything else that we need to have. I have a dream. And that dream involves people saying, everybody in this room, help me out. Yeah.
Okay, so how about that corner of the room? Let's hear you from here. Business is booming. Let's go.
You take your side. I'll take my side.
Wow.
We're taking sides.
Okay, you can have those guys. That's fine.
My people, don't let me down.
My people at the back, in the white chairs, I want to hear you. Yes, even you, Chris. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Yes!
We can do way better than that. Say it after me. After me. Business is booming, baby. Voila!
It's because you added baby.
I like this.
All right, shall we add baby and see what happens? Okay, let's try. But now even you guys at the back, you can help all of us. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Business is booming, baby. I think we've won. Thank you.
Trial and errors. Losers are always looking for more excuses. Now, let me tell you something else. We're about to move into a different presentation right now, coming from IBM. And right now, we have Mr. Timothy Peck from IBM going to be presenting a couple of things right now about the digital era and innovation in the data age. Karibu. Mr. Timothy Peck from IBM. Woo! Karibu.
Hi, Timothy.
Well, it's now good afternoon. I'll be very quick. Okay, something that is new, either a new process or a new item. But I've got 2 key things that I think you need to make sure about your innovation. And I take the point of the last discussion that sometimes we need things for humanitarian purposes. But in general, if you're in the commercial space, the solution must be for a defined problem, and there must be a valid commercial need for it. And the last one is very, very important. So what is innovation? I'm going to give you a couple of examples, and in each example we're going to talk about the person who made the money and the person who didn't make the money. So the first one's the ball bearing, okay? The person who actually invented the first commercial use of this was in the 1800s. But it's basically ball bearings in basically a U tray, and for putting carriages on and off more easily. But it didn't really make much money. The person who made the most money out of this was one who did the radial ball bearings. And for marketing of that solution, he put it in a bicycle that then won the world championship. And now I think every wheel has ball bearings in it. A radial ball bearing. Right, I very rarely do this, because whilst I was born in Nigeria, I was brought up in Yorkshire, and if anybody actually understands Yorkshire people, we're very tight with money. So I've got £20, so about 50,000 shillings. If anybody can tell me, early in the 1920s, in the 20th century, somebody else effectively used the same type of technology to make something that you still use today. No IBMers, okay, because you already know. Sorry? I can't hear what you're saying. No, don't think. No. Well, are you using Tesla? You earn more money than I do. But very, very common. Most of you will have one with you. You've got another chance, by the way, because there's another invention that comes after this. The ballpoint pen. That wasn't what you said, no? Okay, I just want to make sure. I don't want to. So again, moving liquid from one point to another point. But the person who first came out with it was Loud. But he made it to put markings on rough surfaces, and it was a very big item. And basically the patent died, because nobody really saw much of a commercial use. You could still use that with a paintbrush. But our Hungarian Laszlo Biro actually got fed up of getting ink on his fingers when he was writing. And he created the ballpoint fountain pen, which virtually every one of you in the room, I'd be surprised, doesn't use one sometime during the day. So, £20 is still here. In the 1950s, somebody used exactly the same technology to solve another problem. Am I going to keep this? Yeah? Any ideas? Again, a large percentage of you will have used this on a daily basis. Sorry? Not medicine, no. Or pencil, no. Hopefully it will change. Roll-on deodorant. Sorry? You're just about to say it. Timing's everything, you know. As a Yorkshireman, I'm very happy. So, when Helen Deserens joined Mum were one of the first deodorant manufacturers in the US. Her team actually devised the roll-on deodorant. And again, it is still being used today. My point is that there wasn't really much research in terms of new materials or new technologies. It was about understanding the problem. What is the problem you're trying to solve, and then look around at what is available to solve it. So there's another one which I found fascinating. Somebody made this presentation, and it's about the challenge a very large US car manufacturer had, and they came to a Japanese lateral thinker. And the challenge they had was, how do we make money out of our innovation? Their frustration was, within about 3 months of something new going into the car, the competition had already countered it with something else. So there's no real value in the innovation that they're putting in there. Again, this is commercial. If you're going to invent things, you need to actually make money from it, unless you're doing humanitarian, in which case you feel really good about it. Okay? You solve problems. So the solution, proposed solution, and think about this, he's a lateral thinker. He focused on what the car owner's problem was. And those of you who live in Nairobi or Lagos, where do you park your car? If you can get through all the traffic, your next problem is, how do I park the car? So his solution was, get the car company to buy up parking lots in city centres and only allow drivers of their cars to park in them. Unfortunately, it was too radical for the board, so it's still a solution that anybody can take up. Because as a car driver, I hate trying to find somewhere to park in city centres. It either costs you a lot of money or you can't find something. So that's the thought process. Now I want to introduce you to something. On the panel, we had a lot of discussion about building skills and making sure people have the right skills. What I was delighted to see is we've got representatives of the schools. Our CEO started about 4 or 5 years ago. We started a Skills in Africa initiative. And to date now we have 190 universities teaching some of our programs, which is bridging the gap between the university degree and what industry requires, whether it's data science, whether it's cybersecurity, or mobile application development. But she then gave us a new challenge, which was, how do we, that currently has about 40,000 graduates from 190 universities, but she wanted us to reach millions of people and make it freely available to as many, as inclusive as possible. Now, we don't solve the problem if somebody doesn't have network access. We are working with telcos and governments to try and help that, but it does still require a network access for this. So the idea is to empower the youth of Africa with skills that would allow them to gain benefit from the digital age. Knowledge that was relevant to them. The Explorer track is basically 7 modules of about 30 minutes of videos which teach people about the key technologies that are driving the digital revolution today. They get a video on what the technology is, so if it's blockchain, what does blockchain really mean? And it isn't just about cryptocurrencies. And then examples of how it's been used, and links to other sources of information if they'd like to get that information. The innovator is all about today, and it's about unleashing somebody's thought process, but teaching them how to create an idea, i.e. define the problem to do it. And those who are actually more technical have the opportunity to learn more about key technologies. So if they want to understand how to do JavaScript, they can learn how to do JavaScript. All of these courses come with digital badges that are supported by IBM or certified by IBM. The last one, since we were talking about AI just a little bit, includes a little bit and will actually tell you which technical skills you are missing for particular jobs. So if you want to, you can then add those jobs, those courses to your learning profile, take those courses and go back. So the idea is to bridge the gap between what's required and what you have. I'm going to move forward. There's a 7th one on the actual Courses and Explorer, which is coding. And we're going to actually introduce another level of coding which would suit for primary school, so doing blockchain coding. But basically, this is changing all of the time. This is an ongoing project. We're trying to be agile. And if anybody's worked in IBM, that's a not so easy a job. So this is a program that we are delivering changes virtually every month. In innovation, the main thing that it talks about is basically the methodology, and then gives you examples of how currently there are about 7 different types of innovation, including the AI-inspired chatbots and so on. We can make this presentation, by the way, available to everybody here through the organizers. And then, as I said, the new collar for those who want to understand more technical details. And we link to lots of other resources that are available so that people can go into more depth. This is freely available, okay? There's no cost involved. You get a Cloud Light account for free, which allows you 41 different services. And we want to, hopefully get the next one so you can see it. Invite you, not sure the time now, but anyway, we're going to be in an air-conditioned room. Way! Okay, that should be enough to get to lots of you there. Seating, I've got 2 colleagues who are going to run this workshop. This is a workshop we've worked with customers about hackathons using both high school students and university students. And this is running inside the hotel, basically go in the hotel, turn immediately left, can't remember if it's down or up the stairs, and then along the corridor and turn left and the room's there. But if you want to connect, there's 2 ways of connecting. This one actually links it to this event, which is the ibm.biz/AfriLabs-DNA, or you can just do digitalnationafrica.com. I apologize, especially to Facebook who are here, we're still not allowed in IBM to use social media to register. You have to register using your email. But it's free, okay? That's it. Nothing else. I'm trying to keep it quick.
I still can't believe I didn't get that money. Guys, really? 20 pounds? Nobody got it right? Kabisa. Anyway, we're still at it right now. We're talking about innovation and great stuff. We're supposed to have a great conversation involving innovation, the ecosystem, a fire chat discussion, which we'll not have right now. But we will have a great conversation involving Tanzania Innovation Ecosystem, learning from HDIF, work in Tanzania. Mr. David McGinty, team lead from HDIF. Aha. So I heard Mr. David is not around, but he is going to be represented by Madam Christina. Yes. Mr. David is not around, so he's going to be represented by another team lead, Madam Christina. Karibu. Welcome.
Asante. I have a presentation. Maybe I need a...
I don't think your mic is on. Would you?
Yeah. There's a presentation, which I think I need the clicker to...
Could you confirm if you have the presentation Do we have a clicker? So, could we have the clicker brought back to us in the front, please?
So while we're waiting for the clicker, my apologies for David, he had to travel, and I got the pleasure of being with you today. My name is Kristiina Lähde. I'm the Social Innovation Advisor for Human Development Innovation Fund here in Tanzania. HDIF is a £40 million project funding innovations in health, education, and WASH, which stands for water, sanitation, and health. And the HDIF project has been going on for 5 years now. So we have been in the process of collecting some of the learning and insight, both from our projects and from the program itself. And much of that has to do with building and supporting ecosystems, which is why we are here today. And if the presentation makes it on the stage, I'll show you some of the things, but in the meantime, I'll tell you a little bit about that. So one of the main things, and I think that I'm preaching to the choir, most of you work with the ecosystem, so this might be familiar to you. The information and which will become a publication is kind of directed more towards donors and policymakers. So forgive me if this is all so evident that everybody should know it, but one of the things that is the key theme is that you should support the ecosystem as well. We fund, we have it, so now I only need the clicker. So our main thing is supporting innovations, projects with grants, but one of the key learnings is that you also need to support the ecosystem, because nobody can manage alone. The challenge of several challenges there are that every ecosystem is different. The actors are very unique. It's not easy to say this is what the Tanzanian entrepreneur is like or try to put them in a box. And furthermore, most of the entrepreneurs and other actors, they actually play several roles. They might have several companies. They also run an NGO. They also lead a community of faith, and they also have a little side business doing consulting for government. So when you meet somebody, they actually wearing 5 hats at the same time. The ecosystem changes really fast. It sometimes feels like every week there's something new. So the actors also adapt really quickly to their environment. So if you want to support an animal that looks different every day, it was a panther last week and it's a giraffe this week, and next week it will be a rhino, there are some things that we believe you must do. One thing is that you should try to think about what the systemic changes that you're trying to achieve. Try to understand what are the circles of power, who's talking to who's not talking to who has the official influence over something, who's the tastemaker, the thought leader, and try to understand those things as well, not just the kind of formal structures. And obviously the way to do that is to be both present and active in the ecosystem. It's not enough for a funder to sit in and observe. You have to be a player, you have to be a friend, you have to be connected, you have to be a supporter, sometimes you have to be a challenger. But if we really want to make a difference, we can't just be neutral and hang in the sidelines and observe. Because everything changes and because everybody's different, obviously there's a lot of need for customization. One thing that has a lot of effect is the sector. If you are in mobile health in Tanzania, you'll have a lot of networks. People understand the concept. There are channels, there are working groups. There are different ways how to connect yourself with the other practitioners and with the government. On the other hand, if you're in the sanitation, it's not quite as clear. The networks are very different. Obviously, also the innovators in different stages need different types of support. Besides money, you need to support with connections, technical assistance, all sorts of things. And like surprising to no one, things don't always go as planned, or things mostly don't go as planned. So we also must accept that sometimes learning is an acceptable outcome. Things might not have the outcome that we thought, then we have to be very happy about learning. And finally, I think a lot of us, we grapple with the same problems. So there should be a culture of learning, and that requires a lot of trust. The only way to really learn is for us to trust each other so much that we can really talk about what actually happened, what really went wrong, what was the real reason, and everybody else also enough that we can share not just the victories, but also the other types of learnings. That means that we have to also involve flexibility in the funding, but also in the team. If innovation changes radically, or a donor program changes radically, or it needs to change, then there needs to be thought that some of the audience here probably would be interested in Tanzanian hubs. As a part of this information collecting, we've been doing a couple of rounds of trying to identify the hubs and also figure out what they want. And naturally, this is already outdated. Anything that you put up there is going to be outdated, even if it was last week. Somebody's already closed doors and 5 new ones are up. But just a brief glance, we collected data of 27 hubs. Now we think that there's something, maybe 35 to 40 hubs. The 2 different colors are the black ones we interviewed last year. The orange ones are the ones that are kind of either appeared afterwards or we know are coming. And some of, obviously I could talk about this for 2 hours, but I won't, but just some interesting things. We noticed that there's a big division in the hubs on whether they are more focused on building communities, people, capabilities, or whether they are more focused on businesses and tech. Both are needed, I think. There are some hubs that are just generally technology or generally even youth. But then there are hubs that have a very specific focus on social business or agriculture or women or, you know, social businesses, lots of different things. So trying to support this network and these hubs is also, takes a bit of imagination and adaptation because they are so different. But what most of them want are models and more support in implementing new programs and new skills. So I would assume that many people in this room would have a lot to offer to many of these Tanzanian hubs. I also don't think that many of these are members of AfriLabs, so you should probably go and talk to them and get them into the network because they really need support. So this will come out as a publication in November, and you will be able to find it online from the HDIF website. And we'll try to do some sort of shebang for the people who are in Tanzania to publish it, so you will hopefully hear about it. And here's the website, here's the email of the team leader who is not here today, and there's my email as well, and I'm happy to tell you more. Just come and chat to me during the breaks. Thanks.
Thank you. A great talk coming from Christina Larde from HDIF. Thank you very much. A handful of things. So, is everybody good right now? Is the heat still disturbing your peace? Are you feeling hungry like the way I'm feeling hungry right now? Can I hear a yes or a no? Give me more power. Are you feeling the hunger the same way I'm feeling this hunger right now? Ugali, I want to hear with your tone. Give me your accent. I like the way you talk.
This is Michael.
Hey, give me that full throttle accent.
Ugali.
Now you hear how he talks. I sound more Polish in my Swahili, ugali. He says ugali. I like it. Anyway, guys, because we've used so much time, and I see a lot of you guys are kind of feeling hungry and a little bit under the weather because of the heat. So, in a few minutes, we're going to release you to In a few minutes, we're going to release you to go have lunch, and we're going to get back and proceed with more conversation.
So just so that we're all on the same page, this is our attempt to buy some time and make sure that we still finish our program and have everybody who's supposed to speak of their time. So if you would bear with us, this is what's going to happen now. It's 1:30. We would like to release you for lunch for an hour, which is what was prepared for anyway. There will be the side chats that will proceed immediately after. We mentioned them earlier. If you have registered, there will be ushers who will tell you which rooms you should be going to. I believe my colleague Seba has that information as well. And when we come back, we will continue with Building Innovations Ecosystems panel, and then continue with the program as it is. We will request each panel and each moderator to speak to your panelists over lunch and try and keep your 1 hour, hopefully, to 45 minutes. That's the request we're making now so that we can all get through the program. Once again, we apologize for the Wi-Fi. We're trying to resolve.
Gorongoro, one of the halls. Tuku University is presenting a great topic involving entrepreneurship, innovation, and higher education. I see a couple of brothers and sisters, my younger brothers and sisters out here. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can visit a couple of workshops over there and understand what is going on. Innovation, entrepreneurship, and higher education.
For the Francophone brothers and sisters, Band Innov is hosting a workshop over lunch. It's beginning at 1:50 all the way down to 2:30. Next, we also have a workshop by Crosswise Works, which will be hosted by Riz Kambata, and they will be discussing the Hub Brain Trust for hub and lab managers. Finally, we have IBM's workshop again, 2:30 to 4:30, and Hilton will be hosting the OSISA workshop, and Fifi will be hosting the Wazi Up workshop. So if you know that you signed up for these workshops earlier, or in the day-to-day or online, please make sure that you find these rooms. And in the hall, for those of you who will not be attending those workshops, we will continue with our main program. Any questions? Anybody who just wants to say hi and greet their mother, sister, brother, friend? No? Are we ready for lunch?
Yes.
Are we ready for lunch, good people? Are you going to honor your pledge? Should we make us all stand up again and cross our chests?
I think we should.
Please, let's stand up and release ourselves for lunch.
Yes.
We will need you back here in the hall or in your workshop hall at 2:30 p.m. Thank you so much. And remember to visit the different booths. There's a lot of exhibitors on the left and on the right of the tent. Please walk around and get to know everything that has been displayed for you here this afternoon. Thank you.